I am not a wife guy, and this was all a lie.
Welcome to Wow of True, the podcast of your wildest memes.
We're your one-stop internet culture shop, here to dissect what's going viral, why we care, and how this might affect our real human lives. I'm your Shirley Jackson Award nominee, Isabel.
Hell yeah, I'm Amanda, and I'm more excited about this than Isabel. Anyone can be famous on the internet, so why not us?
Wait, okay, it's so bad about the award because first of all, I learned about it like 3 days ago and then I couldn't say anything. But I also like don't write that much horror, so I was like not sure on like what scale of like how big a deal this was.
No, this is a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, I learned that like I think like half an hour after I got nominated, and I was like, first of all, I'm probably the wrong person to get nominated if that's how I feel about this.
I think you're the right person because you wrote something that resonated with people.
Yo, I only write like one horror thing a year though, so I've apparently fucking nailed it the first time.
I mean, I feel like the definition of horror is very broad, and you write stuff that's kind of a little creepy and suspenseful at times, and like, I don't know.
Hey, speaking of horror and suspense, let's talk about adultery.
Oh my god, well...
Sorry, I just wanted to make that segue.
We do have to talk about the biggest internet drama of the week, the Try Guys, but we also need to talk about how you and I went to see My Chemical Romance together last week.
Okay, yeah, no, this is actually way more important than the Try Guys. Because we did, like, last minute, like, I cannot stress enough, like, 4 hours before the concert, decide we were gonna go to MCR Newark.
Yeah, in New Jersey, a state that neither of us live in.
I live in it.
Oh, yeah,
hey,
you do.
I live
well,
there.
Okay, well, you...
Your boy is in Jersey.
Oh, God.
But it's not, like, near. I don't live in Newark.
Yeah, New Jersey's a big state.
It's really not. It's the size of, like, 4 peanuts.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, which takes 13 hours to drive across, so, you know.
My god.
Shout out to Andrea, friend of the pod, who was like, I would like a buddy to go drive an hour and a half to Newark. And I was like, I could see MCR. That seems like a good cultural experience. And then Isabel also came, and then we saw MCR together, and it was a fun time. Gerard Way dressed like a bat. I feel like I was approaching it like an ethnographer, because as we've discussed on the pod, like, I don't really have like a nostalgic connection to MCR. Like, I didn't grow up a super fan, but then I think because of my friends like Isabel and Andrea, who are like losing their minds over MCR coming back, I've kind of gotten brought into the fold, and I'm like, Black Parade is like a masterpiece of an album. A wild conclusion to come to in the year 2022, but I was like, yeah, like this is a band that like I would appreciate having the chance to see once in my life.
I love this because it's like you were there like as an anthropologist and I was there as like a guy who was losing their mind. This was also the second time I'd see an MCR in like 2 weeks.
And it was like the third or fourth time for Andrea, so...
Okay, so like there's, you know, there's a sliding scale here. Can I talk about the weed situation?
Oh yeah, that was funny.
So I was coming from work. I cannot stress enough. I was in New York in my like big boy job, wearing like a blazer and like my big boy clothing. Because if you don't know about this, I'm like a lawyer, and I'm like not the fun sort of lawyer. I'm the sort of lawyer that does like contracts. And then so I was like the one person at the concert who was not dressed like a Social Reject from 2008. I'm saying this was complete love. The first time I went to go see them, I wore the most heinous outfit ever. I was extremely hot. Anyway, and so I'm like this one person who's not wearing black and who's wearing like a blazer. I look like I came from The Office. And then like during the middle of like the opener, this woman comes up and like taps me on the shoulder and is like, hey, so do you know where that smell's coming from? And I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, I was wondering if you had any weed. I was looking around. I looked at the people around me. I looked at me. I looked back at the people around me. I looked at me. I was like, I don't have any weed. I'm sorry. I wish I did. But I was internally like, bro, I'm the one person at the My Chemical Romance concert dressed like a lawyer. Why did you ask me for weed?
I can confirm I was right there and I watched this all happen, and it was absolutely delightful. Worth the journey to New Jersey just to see Isabel have this interaction.
I mean, it was just like, I don't understand why I was the person that she would ask for weed. Like, I was just like a lawyer, at least like ask me for coke. I didn't have any coke either. I had no drugs on me. I came from work.
That's so funny. Yeah, so we saw MCR.
And that's the news from our lives. Sometimes we hang out in person when we're not doing this podcast. It's shocking.
Except we only do things like go to an island together and go to see MCR in Newark, New Jersey together.
I think the problem is that we do a lot of activities because we think they'd be fun to talk about on the podcast. And that's honestly, I'm fine with that in my life because I think that leads me to do more interesting activities because I am by nature a guy who sits on their couch.
Yeah, me too, but I'm a guy who sits on the couch but like wants to do stuff but not too much stuff. Speaking of doing stuff, adultery.
So let's talk about Try Guys Try Adultery, a joke that has been made 5 million times. Okay, I feel like if you've been on the internet in the past week, this was completely unavoidable, but I may just be saying that because the various algorithms in my systems have been pointing me toward the Ned Fulmer incident.
For me, like, I know who the Try Guys are in the sense that I know that they are a group of guys who got their start making videos on BuzzFeed and now they're like big creators, blah, blah, blah. That's essentially the extent of my knowledge before this blew up.
Fascinating. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say that if you, the listener, Craig, have been wanting a primer, this is not the place because this has been dissected to death on the internet, so it's actually not that hard to find someone who's gonna give you like a minute by minute, oh, this is what was happening. But the too long didn't read for everybody. For you, Craig, who is not gonna go do that and who's simply gonna listen to this podcast instead, Ned Try Guy cheated on his wife with a Try Guys employee. This has made the internet impossible to navigate for a few days because people had like a lot of feelings about it. The way I've been explaining it to my friends who are not extremely internet but are like sort of internet is that this is sort of analogous to when like John Mulaney, known Wifeguy at the time, like separated from his wife. In the sense that people are having drama about it. This is like emotionally that on steroids because Ned Fulmer of the Try Guys is like the wife guy of the group. Like he has one trait, it is loving his wife, but not enough not to cheat on her.
Hey, yeah.
So basically the internet, read people on Reddit, started wondering if Ned was cheating on his wife with Alex Herring, one of the Try Guys employees. I think she's a producer. I looked this up and then immediately forgot because of the ways the photos looked and the fact that Ned hasn't really been in many of the Try Guys videos recently. I mentioned this because I actually think it's interesting the way that this situation online like built up, which led to everyone losing their minds about it, where it's like whenever there's like a little investigative activity that you can do and people on the internet think they're right about something, then people on the internet get very like intense. We all know this. And then it comes out that he did cheat. He's not working with the Try Guys anymore. There were a bunch of like official like statements put out by both the company and him and his wife, and he's been basically completely erased from the Try Guys web presence. And this was all done very fast in the span of like maybe like 6-7 hours. So it's clear that this was something that the Try Guys had known about, like had known that the story would break or had known that Ned would fuck up at some point. That's my theory.
Yeah.
So that's basically the primer.
So from my vantage point on the internet, people were making a lot of memes about a statement that Ned put out where he said, "I lost focus and had a consensual workplace relationship."
Yeah, the amount of I lost focus and had a consensual workplace relationship jokes has been extremely funny.
I feel like we didn't even put this in the script, but like a really key thing here is that this has also been the week of the Adam Levine meme.
This has been the week of the Adam Levine meme, which it was immediately overshadowed by the Try Guys meme.
Conspiracy theory, Adam Levine caused this news to break by being like, I need something bigger. But the Adam Levine thing, like, I read an article, I'm so sorry, I forget who wrote it, etc., but it was basically about how this meme is infinitely iteratable because it was just screenshots of Adam Levine's very bad sexts with the person he was cheating on his wife with, and he just said things like, holy fuck, that body of yours is absurd.
I really enjoyed the Adam Levine memes, honestly.
So then people kept using that as a meme template and then putting an image of, like, the green M&M and, like, stuff like that.
Yeah, like Shrek, something like
yeah.
that. So it's funny that it's, like, is it just when guys cheat, what they say is just so absurd that it's very memeable, because it's interesting that memes came out of both of these experiences.
I think that has less to do with the nature of the adultery and more to do with the fact that people are going to make memes about any major cultural event on the internet, whether that is the death of the queen or Adam Levine being bad at sexting.
One thing I wanted to talk about, actually, weirdly enough, the meme is a good segue because consensual workplace relationship is definitely something that they're only putting in there for legal purposes.
Yeah, this is why we have a lawyer on the podcast.
Yeah, so like, you know how we have in our catchphrase how internet culture affects real life, quote unquote? I thought the Try Guys drama was interesting, not because it's like one guy pressing the explode everything button on his life, but because it's pressing the explode button on his company.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the founding members of this like company and probably has some sort of ownership stake in it, and he's cheating with an employee. This is like he's blowing up like the real human lives of multiple people here because he's cheating with an employee.
Yeah.
So this is like, it's not just drama, this is like legally fuckways for like labor reasons, because the moment Alex says something about a hostile work environment, she is the grounds for like a very strong lawsuit where it's like, yeah, I felt coerced into fucking my boss. That does not look good. And then if that expands to like, yes, everybody knew about it. That's not good for anybody involved. One thing I was actually curious about is whether they can actually push Ned out of the company, like without his consent. I think he's just gonna dip.
Yeah, he did dip.
Yeah, he did dip. So I think this is actually a really interesting example of like thing you start with your friends at a different company turns it into its own like business, and now you guys are no longer friends, and what happens to this business that actually relies on you being friends. Me and Amanda are gonna have this problem in 10 years when we're big like internet celebrities.
Yeah, when we have a consensual workplace relationship.
Yeah. With who? With each other?
We have a consensual workplace relationship of friendship.
Yeah, this is so true. Should we just start calling like everything like a consensual workplace relationship?
Yeah, someone's gonna write fanfic now.
I think you should write fanfic about me and Amanda's consensual workplace relationship.
Except it's just us being like, hey, what if we took the advice of patron saint of the pod, I'm avoiding saying pod mommy, Amanda McLaughlin, and kept our friend conversations and work conversations in different channels.
Yeah, so like, you know...
Love that I say patron saint of the podcast when Amanda's Jewish. Also when I'm Jewish.
I think that's a kind of praxis, honestly.
Something exciting will happen and I'll be like, in my brain, I'll be like, damn, Christmas came early. And then I'm like, what the fuck am I talking about?
Culturally, shit, you've been Christ-filled.
Yeah, or I'll be like, Jesus Christ. And then I'm like, yeah, that was a guy. It's like saying like, Cicero.
Okay, I think you're onto something there. I think we should start saying, Cicero. That's kind of good.
I do like how it's a trope in fantasy literature where they have different belief systems that people will say, like in Percy Jackson, they're like, oh gods.
Yeah, I love the additional S when there's like a little pantheon. I feel like my favorite like fantasy curse word, I was gonna say fantasy slur, and then I was like, whoa, that's not what I meant. Is like blood and ashes, because that actually sounds like something you would say if you were being like real aggro.
Yeah, I also like in wizard fiction where across multiple instances of wizard fiction when they say, Merlin.
Wait, okay, not to talk about Harry Potter, but I really appreciated that they would like, just curse by various parts of Merlin.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
I can't believe that somebody on this podcast has said not to bring up Harry Potter, and it wasn't me.
Listen, we're really just doing a lot of role reversals in this episode. Like, you're gonna talk about Tumblr later. Yeah. Shit's going fucking bananas. Okay, fuck turfs. Anyway, okay, what else is there to say about a Try Guys? I think the interesting thing here is not what actually happened, because it's like, this mediocre white dude cheats on his wife. But, like, what's interesting is how parasocial everyone got incredibly quickly, because the phenomenon of the internet being, like, briefly fucking held hostage by this guy's marriage and company imploding is kind of funny.
Yeah, I think it points to one of the central questions of our podcast, which is internet fame good, and do we want it? And when you become famous, do you inadvertently, perhaps non-consensually, enter a relationship with the internet in which your life is going to be scrutinized? But also, I think part of why this was so scrutinized was that his whole brand is I love my wife, and this quote-unquote consensual workplace relationship did happen with a subordinate. And I think those are the things that made people so up in arms about this, but also like, damn, this is just some guy.
This is literally some guy. Like, I honestly think that people cared about this so much, not just because he's cheating on his wife, but because by doing this, it's implying that he is destroying his brand.
His humanity.
You know, he really fucked up his brand cocoon is all I'm saying. Okay, because if you don't know about, like, the Try Guys and Ned, which, like, if you're not somebody who comes from 2012 internet, you probably wouldn't. He has aggressively made being a wife guy part of his brand. Like, it is the only thing he has going for him. So, like, cheating is not just cheating. Cheating is saying, I am not a wife guy, and this was all a lie. And people fucking hate to be lied to.
He didn't just cheat on his wife, he cheated on his brand.
Did literally, though. Like, am I wrong?
So what's your pitch? I'm very curious. In the script, you wrote, I have a pitch for the way that they find a new fourth Try Guy.
Yes, so obviously they need to find a new fourth Try Guy, and I think they should hold tryouts for it. Get it? Tryouts.
Boo.
Here's my pitch, and if the Try Guys are listening to this, they are free to take this information. I think they should hold, like, a Bachelor-style game show with a bunch of just, like, regular dudes. Just some regular guys, where they make the contestants, like, do the things in the old Try Guy videos, and then, like, judge them based on it. And I think this should be televised. I would like to see it.
Like, I feel like that would be good content for them, because I feel like they have to lean into the fact that they lost a guy, and everybody knows why. And they're, like, I think, like, I don't know, I'm thinking, like, did you ever see see Nickelodeon Guts?
This sounds familiar, but no.
Oh, it was just like teens competing in like climbing a rock wall and stupid shit like that. Like, I don't know. It was a great show.
Okay, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Anyway, speaking of sex? Question mark?
Why did you say that was a question mark?
I don't know, because I was just like, yeah, I guess sex, I guess. So people on Tumblr were up in arms this week because they thought that Tumblr was reversing the porn ban. Reader, they did not.
It was a really glorious, 2 hours when everyone was, losing their mind about, yes, we can post nudes on main again.
My investigation in this was something that was partially born of our Discord. Shout out to the Discord. Because on, Monday night, I believe, I was not working, and when I see interesting things when I am not on the clock, I just kind of make a mental note about it. And I saw people on Twitter being like, hell yeah, you can post tits on Tumblr, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like something that they would suddenly just do. And then people in the Discord were asking about it, and I was like, okay, I gotta look into this. So, quick background, we know that Tumblr stopped allowing porn in 2018 after the App Store banned them because they were bad at regulating CSAM or child sexual abuse material. Somebody on Twitter called me out for using child porn and CSAM interchangeably, and I thank them because apparently they were like, porn should imply a consensual relationship and no child porn is consensual. And I was like, yeah, I mean, there's no reason to say child porn instead of CSAM. But then I feel like...
I didn't know that was the difference between porn and not porn.
But the thing is that I don't think that a lot of porn is consensual, so I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, but there's revenge porn. I don't know.
Wait, can I tell a really bad anecdote really fast?
Fine.
It's related to porn, I promise. And the lexical, I was gonna say the lexics of porn, but that's not what it is. Anyway, so I had a Latin teacher in high school, and then we were talking about Reddit, and then he was like, oh yeah, I love the Reddit porn network. And then we were all like, sorry, what the fuck are you talking about? And he was like, oh, earth porn, food porn, all of those subreddits. And then I was like, I cracked the fuck up, because I was like, I feel like he knew exactly what he was saying, but also I'm kind of like, did you? You're like an old man. Do you know what you're talking about with this when you're saying this to a bunch of teenagers? You must. Anyway, that's all.
That is an insane thing to say to teenagers.
Shout out to Mr. Varnes. Fucking love that dude.
Anyway, so it's really bad when you have CSAM on your platform because that is the worst thing on the internet. So the App Store banned Tumblr, and then Tumblr, rather than figuring out how to, not have CSAM. Also, I mean, so App Store rules don't let you have porn, period. And you might ask, but people can post porn on Twitter and Reddit, and they have apps. And my response to that is, the App Store rules aren't fair. I don't know what to tell you. I guess because Tumblr is not as big a platform as Twitter or Reddit, they have a little less leeway. Yeah, so we know about the porn ban. It happened. Tumblr's web traffic dropped by 30% and is not recovered. So this brings us to this week, in which Tumblr announced a community labels feature, which is essentially just if you post about violence or drug or alcohol addiction or sexual content that is allowed on Tumblr but is not pornographic content, you can label it, and that makes it easier to hide those posts from underage users. It makes it easier for maybe you are somebody who is recovering from a drug addiction and you don't want to see posts about that. Then you can make it so that you don't see posts with that label. Pretty good feature.
Yeah, objectively a good feature for them to roll out, and part of, I think, Tumblr's initiative of we're gonna simply give the people what they need.
Yeah. Also, this is mostly happening because of a new children's online privacy law in California. Whenever a platform does a safety feature for what feels like no reason, it's probably because of new legislation.
A lot of times it's California. Wait, so I actually know about this because it's actually really fucking annoying. Where as soon as California changes their rules, everyone needs to update all of their fucking privacy policies and stuff like that because there's so many users in California. Anyway, this has been a thing on multiple deals.
Yeah, I mean also because you can't just say this is different for people accessing Tumblr in California.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of impossible to regulate. Yeah, also speaking of things that people tell me on the internet and then I'm like, good point. A very smart and cool sex worker that I interviewed for another piece was this California law is terrible for sex workers because it requires everybody to verify verify their identities. And while that is good for preventing CSAM, that is bad for anonymity and freedom to do sex work without it being connected to your real identity, etc. Complicated stuff. Speaking of which, I'm interviewing the CEO of OnlyFans in like 2 weeks at TechCrunch Disrupt.
You can't just like drop that in the middle of the podcast. What the fuck? Anyway,
yeah.
Back to Tumblr.
If you're in San Francisco, come through. I'll give you a free ticket. DM me, seriously.
Back to Tumblr. What we care about on this podcast.
Back to Tumblr. TBT when I was like, what if I go to yoga after we record? No, we have so much to talk about in 27 minutes. It's fine. I'll do yoga on my own. So back to Tumblr. So this community labels feature, they post it, and a guy on staff reblogs it and says, quote, okay, didn't everybody want female presenting nipples back on Tumblr? Here you are. This is it. That was not true, and he deleted that, but because of how Tumblr reblogs work, once it's out there and someone reblogs it, even if you delete it, it is still out there. So this circulated even before he deleted his original post. Somebody responded and was like, oh, does this mean I can post erotic fan art now? And he was like, yeah.
I think the funniest part about this is that people started trying to test this.
Oh, yeah.
They did just start posting like dicks and stuff on Tumblr. People started posting very explicit stuff and seeing if it was getting caught by the filters. And in a couple of places, the filter did not catch it. So people were like, yo, he's right. This image didn't get flagged. We're good. We're safe.
That's because Tumblr's moderation is kind of bad.
Yeah.
Also, I think we need to take a moment to talk about the female presenting nipples.
What would you like to say about the female presenting nipple, Amanda?
I mean, the origin of this joke, I'm sure people that listen to the podcast know, is just that when Tumblr banned porn, in their language around that ban, they said, like, no genitals or female presenting nipples. And then, of course, people were like, what the fuck does that mean? That is such... You could not have worded that in a weirder way. Also, like... What's the difference between a female nipple and a male nipple? This is weirdly gender essentialist. Like,
it turned into a meme immediately.
Yeah. I was explaining this to somebody at work when I wrote about it, this is also somebody at work who I explained my immortal to.
Hey, what's your reputation with this person? Like,
I think he likes me. I think we're tight. I think we're work buddies.
Okay.
He is also the editor-in-chief of TechCrunch Plus. So, and it's funny because he posted something where he was like, oh man, bosses. And I was like, hey, you're a boss now, right? But anyway, I was explaining this to him and he was like, but what if you Photoshop a male nipple on a female nipple? Like, in air quotes, male and female. And I was like, Alex, we've discoursed this to death. This was the internet in, like, December 2018. We've been here.
God.
But yeah, so then even Matt Mullenweg, the CEO of Tumblr's parent company Automatic, had to weigh in and be like, yeah, we're not gonna do porn. He wrote a blog post called Why Go Nuts, Show Nuts Doesn't Work on the 2022 Internet.
Yeah, contextually, Go Nuts, Show Nuts was the policy until the porn was banned. Or, like, it was the original policy.
Yeah, wild. So I just think it's funny that that happened.
I feel like we're having a lot of, like, topics that don't have conclusions at this point in this podcast where it's like, yeah, this shit sure did happen. Because I feel like we didn't come to a conclusion about the guy cheating on his wife either, other than, like, damn, don't do that.
Okay, the conclusion is don't cheat on your wife, especially if your brand is that you are a wife guy. And 2, don't talk out of your ass about your workplace, I say, as I'm like...
As you just talk about TechCrunch.com on our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I think it is totally normal for me to consult with an editor about the female presenting nipple. I went on the TechCrunch podcast and talked about this story because this story performed well traffic-wise because people want to read about porn. That's my secret to job security, is that you get a lot of traffic if you write about porn. And they did name my episode of the podcast, like, the female presenting nipple. And I'm like, see, I'm in the right workplace. They get it. Thank you, TechCrunch.
God, that's funny. Also, okay, like, I think in that one dev's, like, defense, like, they didn't really say anything, like, super... Like, they didn't say, like, meat's back on the menu, boys, or anything. Like, it was ill-advised, but also it felt... Do you know what I mean by, like, Tumblr having a little, oh, is porn back scandal did feel like the correct move for Tumblr. Like, emotionally.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately harmless. Like, I hope that this guy doesn't have any repercussions at work. I think it's kind of funny. I think, like, the best thing for Tumblr right now is for more and more people to be talking about Tumblr and using Tumblr, because Tumblr has a problem.
So we're doing Tumblr service by talking about them fucking constantly on the podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome, Matt Mullenweg. Come on the pod.
Yo, that'd be funny as hell.
Speaking of writing about porn, I did go Reddit viral for writing about Instagram permanently banning Pornhub's account, and it was just a very horrifying internet experience to go on Reddit and see your article with 31,000 upvotes and thousands of comments. Editor David read the comments and was like, yeah, no one's even talking about the writer of the article, they're just talking about Instagram banning Pornhub. And I was like, fuck yeah. Also, speaking of virality and my workplace, the audience engagement person at work was like, hey, we want to get some more traffic on LinkedIn. Can you post this article that you just wrote about Amazon raising the minimum wage by $1 on LinkedIn? And I was like, sure, okay. And then it got featured by LinkedIn. And as a result, I started arguing with a lot of people on LinkedIn about why it's not virtuous that Amazon gave people a $1 a month raise, or a $1 an hour raise.
Question, was the arguing with people on LinkedIn part of your job or something that you simply felt compelled to do after it was posted? This is a genuine question.
The latter.
Okay,
the latter.
Great.
This was the audience engagement person being like, hey, do me this literal 1 minute favor. And I was like, cool, yeah, like, you're cool. I like you. I'll do you my 1 minute favor that also involves me getting attention. And then I just got in too deep on LinkedIn, and
LinkedIn is a weird social.
I feel like I was punished by LinkedIn because then I saw the worst post I have seen in my entire life. So since I was on LinkedIn, I saw this viral post that just ruined my life. So Carly Blackburn, shout out to her, I guess, like I hope that she finds a good job, is a recently laid off person who wanted to stand out from the crowd because it's really frustrating to constantly just get like, we received your resume and you're not a fit, blah, blah, blah. So she wanted to work at Nike, and Nike was having a huge celebration for Just Do It Day, which is a thing at Nike, and she wanted to work at a startup incubator within Nike called Valiant Labs. So she does not live in Oregon where Nike is based, so she contacted an Albertsons in Oregon and had her resume printed on a sheet cake, and then hired an Instacart worker to deliver the sheet cake to Nike.
Hey, do you think this is what people are talking about when they talk about the metaverse?
Yeah, I don't know. So she delivered it to Nike, and so this Instacart worker, speaking of like Amazon, another company that is shitty to its gig workers, I have written about this extensively on TechCrunch.com.
I feel like this is a big TechCrunch.com ad. Amanda, are you a plant? Are you a fucking industry plant on our podcast?
I think it's just that I write about a lot of things that I think are interesting. Like, this isn't a TechCrunch ad. This is the accidental labor ethics episode.
They're all accidental labor episodes, and don't get me wrong, I'm setting up for a future joke here.
Yeah, so this woman, Denise, who has an 8-month-old baby, and Instacart is one of the only jobs that she can do with her 8-month-old baby because she does not have somebody to watch the baby while she works. That's, like, shitty. I wish she had more options than a low-paying gig working job that defaults to 5% tips. So Denise, just bless her heart, was like, yeah, I'm gonna deliver this. She's carrying her 8-month-old baby in one arm, she's carrying the resume sheet cake in the other arm, and she's walking through the giant Nike campus trying to find this one guy. And then she finds him and whatever. So first off, Nike is not going to eat food that is anonymously delivered. They're not going to eat food that just comes from a random person. Like, that is not something that's going to happen at a big corporate campus. 2, fucking chill. 3, she better have tipped Denise so much. But because it's LinkedIn, this goes super viral of people being like, this is so creative and inspiring that Carly just went and did it. Also, her resume was designed very badly. It was a 2-page resume. Huge no-no. The cake was designed badly. The resume was designed badly. Instead of paying to get a sheet cake, hire somebody to help you with your resume.
I love this. I love that you're like, it's first of all, like, bad idea, second of all, shitty resume. I feel like this really encapsulates, like, a late-stage capitalist. Like, this is the perfect encapsulation of late-stage capitalism, right? Where, like, somebody feels obliged to do, like, a bunch of weird shit to impress a corporation, and then another person who is, like, in, like, a worse situation has to go through, like, 15 million hoops to do this weird job that is related to this person getting a job. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, this is just like everyone.
Oh, yeah.
No matter where you are on this like class ladder, it's just not like a great situation for you and you're doing insane shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is why this like poisoned my brain so much, because it is late stage capitalism all the way down.
Well, see, my theory, I think this is just an elaborate, like, okay, I'm putting on my tinfoil hat. I think this is like an elaborate, like, industry plant by Instacart to get people talking about Instacart.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a lot of media coverage about how this is like a feel-good story.
It's not a feel-good story, though. Like, there's that one meme where it's like, wow, this kid had to raise like $5 million for cancer, and then for like cancer research, and everyone's like, great job, kid, but the actual story should be like, why did that kid have to do that? This is that situation.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that's the worst thing I saw on the internet this week. And that's saying something, because you know what else I saw on the internet this week? A bunch of Elon Musk texts that have entered the docket for the Elon Musk versus Twitter trial, where it's just hundreds and hundreds of pages of texts.
It really wouldn't be a Wow True Pod episode unless we talk about some cringe shit that Elon's doing. Also, I just want you to know that I did read the texts.
Oh, nice. So I feel like we're always like, we're not going to talk about Elon Musk, and then we're like, but he just keeps doing such absolutely bonkers shit. But honestly, I feel like in these texts, he's not even the one that's that bonkers. It's the way that people treat him. It's just like this laundry list of Silicon Valley overlords who are absolutely just sucking his dick. Sorry to be graphic, but like Jason Calacanis, who is a big angel investor who got super rich in the dot-com boom, is like, I have never seen thirstier texting. Even Adam Levine texting this model that he cheated with is not as thirsty as Jason Calacanis texting Elon Musk.
Would you consider this a fully consensual workplace relationship?
No, because Elon is like, this guy needs to leave me alone. And did you see the part where after just like months of Jason texting Elon bonkers shit, like just had the best idea ever for monetization? If you pay 1 cent per follower per year, you can DM all your followers up to 1 time a day. 500,000 followers equals $55,000. Or no, I read it wrong, and I was like, that math is wrong. Damn, he's an idiot. And I was like, no, I'm the idiot. Yeah, and then he also, great use of autocorrect, was like, what if we ask Justin Bieber about this? So then eventually Elon Musk is like, hey, what's going on with you marketing an SPV to randos? This is not okay. And then Jason is like defending himself for like trying to raise money for Elon's bid without Elon's permission.
I think my favorite one is where Elon's like, please stop.
Yeah.
And then Jason's like, only ever want to support you. And I'm like, what's going on here? Are you guys like fucking having a breakup? This doesn't seem like a consensual workplace relationship.
It doesn't. And what's also very funny is this is a laundry list of like the worst men in just culture. Joe Rogan is there. Joe Rogan texts Elon Musk being like, hey, what if we had a party when your bid gets accepted? And then Elon Musk sends 100 emoji. And then Joe Lonsdale, who he's had multiple bad media cycles this year. He's a venture capitalist who runs Palantir. He has been skewered in the media for saying, 1, paternity leave is for losers, and 2, the reason why there is such a racial disparity in who gets venture capital investments is because Black people are too average. So basically he's racist, misogynistic, gross, horrible man. And he texts Elon, haha, even Governor DeSantis just called me just now with ideas how to help you, and outraged at that board and saying that the public is rooting for you. And like, would be fun to see if you guys are around this weekend or the next few days. And then Elon says, haha, cool.
I feel like Elon is like do you know what I mean? Like the hot girl who doesn't like text back.
Oh yeah.
Like where like you give like the 1-word answers and everyone is like so thirsty for you. That's the vibes I'm getting from Elon in these texts. And I can't believe that I feel almost sympathetic for him. Not sympathetic.
Oh, me too.
It
just seems overwhelming. And then I think what's most surprising to me here is that in these texts, Elon doesn't really say anything that weird. What's weird is how people engage with him, like Gayle King, a CBS News anchor, texting him saying that what he did was, as the kids say, this was a gangsta move. Like gangsta. And she thinks the kids say that.
I think we should start saying that so that the kids are saying it. My theory is that so Elon's really good at public perception.
Yeah.
we talk mad shit about this man, but he's good at using, like, Twitter. Like, he's bad at it, but he's good at it, if that makes sense. And so he has a really, like, specific public persona. Personally, I think his public persona sucks, and he probably sucks in private too. But it almost feels like everyone who's, like, sending him messages is trying to send messages to that public persona. And he's just here, like, sending regular texts. Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, he did make some pretty, like, boneheaded ideas about what if you had to pay Dogecoin to tweet? Which, that's fucking stupid, but, like, he also tweets fucking stupid shit, so I was like, yeah, that checks out, it's par for the course. Oh, my favorite part, he calls Jack Dorsey, the founder and former CEO of Twitter. In his phone, everybody is named, like, their name, except Jack Dorsey is Jack.
I thought that was adorable. Honestly, I was like, this is like very kawaii-des of you, which is a weird thing to say.
I need the RPF fanfic now. Just kidding. I don't need that. Nobody
I'm
needs
gonna
that.
send you
But
it.
it's just
I'm
like
gonna find it and send it to you after this call.
It definitely. Oh god. There has to be so much Elon Musk fanfic, and I'm very upset about that.
I hope there isn't. I don't want to, like, find out on this day of the Lord that, like, there's, like, a lot of Elon Musk fanfic out there. Like, that would actually really upset me.
I mean, there has to be. I feel like maybe... I mean, I would be surprised if any of it on, like, AO3 was flattering, because I feel like just the people that use AO3 are a bunch of nerds who think that billionaires are bad. But, yeah, I don't know. I also get the feeling that Elon probably knew that his texts were going to get leaked, which might be why he's so reserved.
Oh, that makes sense, where he's like, I gotta be regular, people are this. I think if the contents of my text messages were leaked, or, like, were, like, part of a lawsuit or something, it would be not good.
Yeah, I feel like it would just be, like, I just say a lot of dumb shit, like, not, like, problematic dumb shit. Like, I don't know, I just say a lot of dumb shit to my friends, and, like, just me memeing out loud all the time.
And you're so valid. Mine would be, like, 80% incomprehensible bullshit, 20% talking with my family. So that would be, like, really nice and regular, except it'd have some Korean in it. And then the rest of it would just be like, my god, you talk like this?
So what have we learned today?
You know, I don't know if we've learned anything. I feel like do you know what I mean? Where, like, these are all situations that are just, like, not good, but there's nothing that, like, you can take away because what's not good about them is so obvious. It's like, yeah, don't cheat on your wife. Don't make your brand Wifeguy if you're gonna cheat on your wife.
Don't print your resume on a sheet cake.
Don't put your resume on a sheet cake. Don't try to buy Twitter. I don't know what to tell you.
And on that note,
if you like this episode, tell a friend. Word of mouth is how we grow. Thank you to all of our patrons, and shout out specifically to Zoe, Bray, Andre, Thea, Brian, and Gabriel. If you want your name in the above or on our Twitter header, slide right into our Patreon on patreon.com/wowoftrue. Shout out to Allison Mills, beloved audio editor, and to graphic designer and Canva warlock Eric Silver, who made our logo, and Sam Rizer, who made our podcast music. You can find us on Twitter as @WowofTruePod and Instagram and Facebook as @WowofTrue. Had your 15 seconds of internet fame? Have any thoughts about Elon's DM? Got DM'd by Elon? Slide right into our Twitter DMs and tell us about it. Until next time, let's get weird on the internet.